Thank you for joining us. I can't wait to dive into your book.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thank
Lyle,
you.
can you first give us a show of the book for those that are watching the video? Can you?
Certainly.
Very good. There we go. Love it. Let's talk about when you talk about fully human. What is it? What are we talking about? What's the basic message?
Well, the problem goes with people who live a very narrow life instead of an expanded life where they're getting the most out of their own life. And 70% of all Americans are locked on Maslow's hierarchy of needs halfway up. And what the book does is help you get the rest of the way. And it really makes a huge difference when you look at life from that perspective.
So basically, what you're saying is that we keep ourselves locked in to half the dimension of what we have available to us.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Well, let's talk about bring the cookies down on the shelf a little bit for me, because you have really done extensive research. You are very well accomplished, and I want to make sure that we can really relate how this book applies to us. Can first of all, do you think that best place to start are to talk about the steps so that we can see where we're actually stuck ourselves?
I think you really need to understand what Maslow was doing in order to make any sense out of anything that I'm
Okay.
talking about. And I'd be happy to describe that for you.
Yes, please.
Well, my undergraduate degree was in psychology and philosophy. I've been national president of the American Humanist Association and Maslow created humanistic psychology. Psychology started about 150 years ago with Sigmund Freud, who took people with very abnormal behavior and through psychotherapy would bring them up mainstream so that they could function in society. Then along came the behaviorist who said that all behavior is the result of drive strength. If you're really thirsty, you go drink water. And Maslow grew up in that era, and he was trying to figure out what the drive strength is that caused two of his professors to be such beautiful people. And all of a sudden, he got the idea that, hey, maybe we got all this backward. Maybe these professors are normal people, and to the extent you have need deprivation, you become abnormal, clear down to the people Freud was dealing with. So he started studying needs, and he was shocked to find that the deficiency that causes drive varies on six very distinct different levels. And the drive strength on one level below is twice that of the current level, and that dictates your behavior. The basic level is food, water, sex, shelter, warmth, those things necessary to sustain life. Once you're satisfied there, you get into the security level where you protect the satisfaction of those needs into the future. Once you feel secure, you bring other people on the third level into your defense mechanisms and share life with them on the social level. Well, 70% of all Americans are locked on the social level and do not realize there's three levels above them that would enhance the quality of their life. They're satisfied, they have a spouse or whatever they need, and so they don't worry about anything more. Well, that's kind of sad when you think about it because they're not getting the most out of life. If you move on to the fourth fourth level, it's self-realization where you really get to know who you are. 30% of society get to that level. Now, some people on the social level will touch that briefly, but then they'll back down into the social level. They can't live on that fourth level. Those that do of that 30% have real strong egos usually. But once and selfishness declines at the same rate. So when you move to the next level, the fifth level, which is self-realization, actualization it's called, where all of your needs are satisfied, all of a sudden your selfishness goes away. 6% of society actually get there on a normal basis, live there. Of those people that do, 1%, once your selfishness goes away, turn to dedicating their life to making the lives of others better. And only 1% get there. But when they do that, all of a sudden, as an example, death isn't particularly relevant anymore at that point in time. Their life feels fulfilled. And so they don't fear death. And that's kind of incredible when you think about it. But the problem is that people, once you have a barrier, you can't see your own barriers. And your barrier blocks you from ever seeing anything else. Well, what my book does is help you build bridges over your barriers so that you can actually get to the next level above. And that makes a huge difference.
Lyle, can you give me some hands-on, some practical things that take us from level 3 to level 4? What does that look like? Where, okay, I'm just going to throw this out as an example. We're living satisfied, but we're living in our own little home. We don't say hello to the neighbor. We drive into the garage. Maybe by unlocking level 4, are we now looking at ourselves more and self-reflecting more, maybe gaining a little bit more empathy? What does that look like? Since so many are stuck on 3, how do we get to 4, and what advantage is there for us to do the work to get to 4?
Well, there's 1,000 different reasons that people get locked on the social level. A lot of it has to do with guilt and fear that you perhaps had as a child. And you become afraid of some things. Well, you can't just go in and tackle that and says, I'm not going to be afraid anymore. That doesn't work. In the first place, you can't see yourself, so you can't see what's causing it. But you can learn enough to be able to bridge around whatever your barrier is that's causing that. You don't, it doesn't mean it goes away. It doesn't mean you're still not fearing whatever, but it means it's no longer controlling you and you're able to
Mm.
rise above it. And that's the purpose of my book. It gives you enough information to be able to build your own bridges. Now, if you if you got a very close friend, husband and wife, for instance, you can see the other person's barriers. They can't see their own. So you could help the other person realize what their barriers are once you understand that this is the problem. And that would help build your barriers of bridge. And so there's a lot of ways to do it. But my book, probably for the first time for most people, educates them as to what's actually going on within them so that they can make the most out of their own life.
Lyle, you talked about how it controls us, and I actually let out an audible, because I so relate to that. Because of our fear and our pain and things that we've brought in from our childhood, sometimes we're just comfortable being comfortable, and it's too scary to go outside. But
Yeah,
we're
because you,
staying locked in, we're staying hidden, and we're not fully alive then.
that's right. You have fear of change. And depending upon your age and whatever, uh, those become stronger and stronger, and your barriers become more and more fixed.
Mm.
Somebody else can help you find your barriers, and that's really what psychotherapy is all about. But you go to a marriage counselor or whatever, they'll help you there. And the book also points out that we've known for about 3,000 years now that people process information from one particular point of reference. And the person that you're talking to may have a totally different point of reference. My own wife, we would go to buy a birthday card for somebody. I'd find a card that I like, and verse that I like, and it's pretty, so I'm ready to buy and go on with life. She can't buy that until she's looked at every other one to make sure that's the best. So we'd get into huge fight right there in public. It wasn't until our therapist pointed out this difference, and we got a book, David Kiersey, Please Understand Me, Roman numeral 2. Cost me $17, but it saved my marriage.
Wow.
Now I enjoy life a lot better because I can see life from her perspective and put that with my own. We're going somewhere. I know where we're going. I can't remember how I got there. She can't remember where we're going, but she's seeing the bunny in the road and the flowers and the
You're a
trees.
beautiful team, right?
And
You
so
you
now I
you
get to enjoy that too.
yeah.
And so it makes a big difference. Anyway, the book gives you descriptions that help you understand that so you can make a big difference in your own life.
Lyle, would you talk about the four main forms of psychology? So I think as we start building on the foundation, we can look ahead at what changes we can make to make ourselves more alive.
Well, psychology started, of course, with Sigmund Freud 150 years ago. He would take people with abnormal behavior and use psychotherapy to help bring them back into mainstream society so that they could enjoy life. Then the behaviorist comes along, and the behaviorist says that all behavior starts because of a deficit and a need. You get thirsty, you drink water. And Maslow was trying to figure out why two of his professors were such beautiful people. What was their need that helped them do that? Where's the drive strength coming from? Well, all of a sudden he realized that we've got this all backwards. Those people are normal to the extent you have drive caused because of some deficit. You get clear down to the people that Freud was dealing with. So if you look at it from that perspective, he started studying needs and what they were. And what he found is that it isn't a linear progression. There's six very distinct different levels. And the drive strength on one level is twice that on the level above. And he found that basic needs, food, water, sex, shelter, warmth, those things that are necessary to sustain life, are primary. You really got to go to the bathroom. Nothing else is important at that moment. And so it drives your behavior. Well, once that's satisfied, then you go to the, and if you're a private in the Army where you discovered that you're standing in formation, you learn that lesson pretty well. Never happens again because you get on the security level, you protect yourself. Once you feel secure, then you bring other people on the third level into your defense mechanisms and share life with them. And that's in essence what love is. It's the relationship with another person. 70% of all Americans are locked on that level, not realizing there's something above them. Now, they may test the fourth level of self-realization or ego, but they'll drop right back into the social level. It's just they go up and taste it and come back.
Because it's too hard?
What?
Is it because it's too hard to do the work
It's
to
because
push
they don't
through?
understand it. But of the 30% that actually live on that level, most of them are ego driven, but it doesn't matter. They enhance the quality of their life. But only 6% get to the point where they're in the next level above that, where all their needs are satisfied. And what they find out is that selfishness declines at the same rate. So somewhere on that actualized level, it goes away. And so you feel complete at that point in time. In fact, I call it a peak experience. Well, Maslow did too. And once you're there, you really feel good about you.
Mhm.
That 1%, however, that gets to the point where there is no selfishness and they're simply looking at life from a bigger perspective, moved to being fully alive. And they dedicate much of their life to making the world a better place because they've been here. And all of a sudden, life takes on a totally different value for you. And frankly, even death isn't relevant at that point because you feel fulfilled and complete. And so you don't worry about it anymore. I'm 88 and I can understand that. I would never have understood that at 40 because no one ever told me. But the
Now,
point is,
let me ask you this. You know, when we talk about most I'm so intrigued by the fact that most of us are stuck on phase 3 and that many of us hit phase 4. It's too much work. We don't understand it. Are there situations where hard times, trauma will force us into those next levels?
trauma usually forces you into a lower level where you
Okay.
feel safer.
Okay.
And you got to free yourself from those kinds of things in order to get to the actualized level. And you got to first understand it. Uh, there's all kinds of control people in the world, from presidents to your Sunday school teacher. And they control a good element of your own life. You have to put all that in proper perspective to be able to take charge of your own life. But if you can't take charge of your own life, you never can get to be fully alive. And the book gives you enough information that helps you build those bridges wherever they may be. There's 1,000 different bridges. You can't address every one of them. You got to figure out your own, but it gives you the tools to be able to do that. And those people that have read it tell me that their whole life changed. All of a sudden, it had a totally different meaning for them. Uh, I've been an attorney for 62 years, but I give a third of my time back to society one way or another without charge because I can make a difference. That gives the life a totally different value for me. And you really enjoy it much more when you see the benefit to the other person. In a movie script that one of my publishers is working on, they're saying that all of a sudden, this fellow who was ego driven, next door neighbor died. It started snowing. So he gets out of bed in the middle of the night and goes and shovels their driveway and their sidewalk without ever telling the wife what he's doing. You know, as far as he was concerned, she can believe that the God did it. But the point is, he felt good about that. And the story goes on from there and builds into homeless people now have a living facility in their community where they're safe with bathrooms, with showers, concrete foundations with electricity for those people that'll use it. They're never going to know his name. It talks about my grandson that now in a rural community of Uganda, 30,000 people have medical care the first time in their history that they've never had before. And one of the Drake professors that had taken these kids there for a 3 week study abroad program went back and checked on this clinic, and there was a little baby there, 2 months old, that had malaria and pneumonia. Typically, that child would have died. That little child opened her eyes and looked at her, and that said to that professor, "This was so worthwhile." Well, that little child's 10 years old now and living because my grandson made that decision. No one will ever know who he is or that he did that, but he's got to feel good about himself because of the good he did to make our world a better place. That's being fully alive.
You said a lot. There's a lot to follow up on that. I think one of the most humbling parts of your message is it's not about what other people are seeing us do. It's about us knowing inside and having a full richness and completeness in ourselves. Not about trying to get my dad's approval after 50 years or a spouse or, a boss.
Yes,
Truly, self satisfaction and being fully alive starts and ends from inside, from what
that's,
you're saying.
that's exactly right. You
Wow,
got it.
that is so beautiful. Well, we've got to start bringing this interview down. I want you to have the final thought, the final word on if you had 2 minutes to share with someone about your message, what do you hope that they take away from your book? If you had 2 minutes to share with them, what would that message be?
That's a good one. Essentially, it is what would it take for you to be proud of what you're doing without anybody knowing it?
Mm,
I've given a third of my time to society. I built a mental health hospital in an area that didn't have any of that kind of service. People are being helped on a daily basis because of the effort that I put in. I don't brag about it. I'm not going to go tell them that what I did or why they're there or anything else. I just know that they have a better life than they would have ever had before. And I can give you another 100 examples, but that's the point is how you feel about yourself. I don't fear death now. I don't need to because my life has been filled. And so at 88, I'm ready to go when it's time. I've got a few projects I'd like to finish, but you never want to get to it. Success doesn't come from the result. Success comes from the feeling you get for the path that you're on. And when you look at life from that perspective, it takes on a totally different message for you. It has
mm.
some real value that you never thought about before. But if you're locked on the social level, you won't see that. You got to get there to experience it. And the book will help you do that.
Lyle, thank you so much for your time, for your wisdom. Remind me the website one more time where our friends can purchase your book.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, the website. I think it's lylesimpson.com.
Yes, www.lylesimpson, www.lylesimpson.com.
Thank you.
Go on my website, it'll explain the book to you. You can look in the author section and it'll tell you my history. It wasn't that I wanted the public to know that. The publisher just put it in there, but as an attorney, I didn't want my clients to know all that information, but I'm retired now, so I can't complain.
Right.
But no, I've been blessed, I guess, with an opportunity to share this with others, and that's what I'm doing. And frankly, it's the only book today that exists that gets into the depth of what we're talking about.
Mm.
But it has to do with the fact that Maslow created humanistic psychology, and I've been an officer of that organization for 50 years, and I met lots of people who are doing this kind of thing, and it's all in the book.
Thank you, Lyle. Have a great day, and we'll talk again soon.